Jai Jai Ram Om.
Hare Ram, Jai Jai
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody.
Hare Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om, Hari Om. Yesterday we were discussing about chapter number 10, 10 over. Now today we take about chapter number 11, Vishwarupa Darshanam. Witnessing Lord Krishna's cosmic form overwhelms Arjuna, causing him to fall at Lord's feet in reverence, highlighting the humbling experience of realizing one's smallness in the grand scheme of the universe. Previously, Arjuna was thinking, he is my friend. He never knew that Lord Krishna will be able to show his universal form. So as soon as he saw that, then only he came. That is what he said. Witnessing Lord Krishna's cosmic form overwhelms Arjuna, causing him to fall at Lord's feet in reverence, highlighting the humbling experience of realizing one's smallness in the grand scheme of the universe. This is one of the rare moments a sincere seeker is blessed with, when the veil lifts, revealing the beauty and grandeur that lies beyond. Allegorically, we can say that it is not that Krishna, the individual showed. Because of God dimension, intense thinking, dedication, faith, devotion, the Lord does give us fleeting experiences of His cosmic vision. Then we suddenly realize, who are we, what are we? The puny intellects. Otherwise, we have been asserting that we decide, we do, we plan, we get things done. Suddenly, the cosmic vision makes us feel how trivial we are. This is one of the rare moments a sincere seeker is blessed with, when the veil lifts, revealing the beauty and grandeur that lies beyond. It inspires devotion and renews one's conviction. But these flashes cannot be sustained. You need to go back to your level, work yourself up to find this magnificence in your own everyday life. Because the fleeting experience we may have, but we are back again to our usual life, individual life, professional life, social life, family life. So God gives us this fleeting experience only to see Him in a tangible form, the whole universe. So effort should be there on our part, not to limit ourselves to such fleeting, This is one of the rare moments a sincere seeker is blessed with, when the veil lifts, revealing the beauty and grandeur that lies beyond. It inspires devotion and renews one's conviction. But these flashes cannot be sustained. You need to go back to your level, work yourself up to find this magnificence in your everyday life. Wherever a greater manifestation of energy, beneficial and uplifting humanity, become expressive, we should know that He is more conspicuous there. Not that He is not there everywhere. He is more conspicuous. the brilliance, the light is there, the brilliance. So God is now facilitating us to identify Him. Wherever the radiance is there, we immediately get attracted to that. And later on, we should know He is in everybody. Mostly our mistake is to get fixed on that particular form. 99% of us. Wherever a greater manifestation of energy, beneficial and uplifting humanity become expressive, we should know that He is more conspicuous there. A portion of His own infinite nature is present. A portion only. The Lord is present in different objects as different attributes. As we know as such, we find joy in them and feel a kind of relationship with them. The Lord is present in different objects as different attributes. He is there in the form of sweetness in the sugar cane, bitterness in the bitter gourd, spiciness in the chilies, sourness in the tomato. We don't complain, no. Suddenly we beautiful. So the Lord is present in different objects as different attributes, and we know as such. When we know as such, and when we know as such, we find joy in them and feel a kind of relationship with them. The Lord says that He who is free from enmity to all creatures, who dedicates all his actions, who is full of devotion, that we have to read, because then when we come to that, we will see that. So the Lord says that He who is free from enmity to all creatures, who is ever engrossed in serving the world impartially without any expectation, who dedicates all his actions to Him, who is full of devotion, who forgives all and is detached and full of love, becomes an instrument of Him. So now we will just go through the shlokas. 1, 2, and 3, Arjuna prays to see Lord's supreme form. 4, Arjuna says, if you think of me capable of seeing it, then show me. If I am eligible to, if I am competent enough. Then 5, 6, 7, he says, behold my hundreds and thousands of different forms of various colors and shapes. Unless one becomes expansive, one will not be able to behold Lord in innumerable forms. So Lord provides Arjuna the ability to see His divine form. Means a higher elevated perspective. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, Sanjaya reports the same to Dhritarashtra. Sanjay here stands for a spiritually evolved soul. Spiritually evolved souls can only share the higher realms of experience, glory of the mighty being, and manifold divisions. And 15 to 31, Arjuna sees the Lord's universal form, offers praises to the Lord. 32 to 34, God describes His glory and exalts Arjuna to fight. 35 to 46, overtaken by fright, Arjuna offers praises to God, praises for the sight of the Lord's four-armed form. come down to the individual form, the gentle form. The impossibility of obtaining a sight of the forearm without exclusive devotion. We will not be able to do that without devotion. So there are so many shlokas, we are bypassing all those things. Because those are all for us. The idea is, I am an individual now, I have got limitation to see the creation. Wherever He has blessed me to go travel with the mind, I am able to understand something of it. But a comprehensive form can happen only when He causes me to raise myself from the individual level to a higher level, which can be triggered only by a spiritually evolved soul. And the moment He facilitates me to go higher and higher, I will be able to see everything. Previously I was not seeing. The different planets, the Panchabhutas, I was not aware. We have learned so many, but we were not aware that the air is now here. We were not aware of the space in which we are all sitting. So all these things become clearer to me. We take it. There could be so many other explanations for this particular chapter, but we take it that the moment I cross over the boundary of me and mine, I will be able to see His creation in the wider angle. And when we go through these slokas, we will also get some hints of what all experience I went through. So the message is, Krishna, the indwelling reality, is slowly training the sense of individuality, the Arjuna in us, to move from the limited circle to a higher level, to a higher level, to a higher level. But because I have not grounded myself, there is an urge for me to come back to the usual plane. Many friends who have come here, who had the taste of this, used to tell us, I got it, but I have not been able to retain it. Because the mind is bringing back. We are comfortable with the present setup, But by His grace, we get a lift. But after that, we want to immediately come back to our old state and explain to others. That's all. But not to stay there. This is what we have seen in the case of many, many ardent sadhakas. They get a glimpse, they are unable to express it. That fullness. Initially they wanted to retain, but old habits, bring them back to the individual level. Even in Papa's case also we have seen that. The outpouring of the heart brought out in the last portion of In Quest of God clearly makes us aware of this. So the final leap, takes some more time. We are again back to the individual. This is what is mentioned here. So without exclusive devotion, that is not possible. Exclusive devotion. It is very difficult to stay in His form. So what is the learning from this chapter? One's life should become a shining instrument in the Lord's hands. If we have to become a flute in His hands, we should free ourselves from the notions of me and mine, thereby becoming hollow. Then only will the sweet music come out of the flute of our lives. individual to universal. No? Divinity and sanctity that are present in the Lord's supreme form are even there in a small image. Image worship is the art of learning to experience the whole universe in a small object. All of us have been initiated like that by our elders. There will be a small puja room. We have some photos of great deities. We may not know any philosophy, but we develop faith. We develop bhakti, devotion. And through some slogas, through some rituals, we are told, we are worshipping the Lord, God who is. That is how slowly we are put on this. So the image worship is the one which makes us to go beyond image worship later. The Lord shows Arjuna a synoptic view of the entire universe. The Lord manifests everywhere and in different objects, in different forms and in different characteristics. The bitterness of the bitter gourd, the sweetness of the sugar cane, the spiciness of the chili, sourness of the tomato, all of these have come out from respective plants that have equal access to sunlight, manure, water, care of the same gardener. In all these, divinity is present. To know that the entire universe is present even in a grain of sand in the cosmic vision. So here the Vishwarupa Darshanam means what? Normally we feel an enlarged vision. That can be interpreted. But practically, when we see him in a tiny little drop, he is present in everybody, Vishwarupa Darshanam, we can say cosmic vision, universal vision, which is the end and aim of all spiritual discipline. This is the essence of Gita's teaching. He who is free from enmity towards all creatures, who is ever engrossed in serving the world impartially without any expectation, who dedicates all his actions to the Lord, who is full of devotion, who forgives all, and is detached and full of love, becomes an instrument of the Lord. Mat karmagridi, mat paramo, mat bhaktaga, sangavarjita, nirvairam sarvabhudeshu, yasamameti pandava. This is a wonderful sloga which all of us have to learn by heart because cream, mat karmagridi. Mat karmagridi, mat paramo, mat bhaktaha, sangavarjita, nirvairam sarvabhudeshu. He who does action for me, who looks upon me as the Supreme, who is devoted to me, who is free from attachment, who bears enmity towards none, he comes to me, O Pandava. So how can one have universal vision? That has been answered here. You and I want to reach, but we are unable to. Why? The Krishna plan for the finite man to gain the stature and strength of the cosmic seems to consist of 5 distinct schemes. This is clear from the condition required of a seeker that is given in this sloka. They are whose work is all dedicated to the Lord. Nothing is self-centered. Me to we. Whose goal is the Lord. I want to become one with Him. Is all dedicated to the Lord. Who is free from all attachments. Then only we can attach to God. No? Who is devoid of enmity towards anyone. Mat karmagradu, mat paramo, mat bhaktaga, sangavarjita, nirvairam sarvabhudeshu, yasamameti pandava. In these 5 schemes we will find an entire line of self-discipline summarized. Detachment from all activities, whether physical or mental or intellectual, can take place only when one is constantly thinking of the self. Enmity is possible only when one considers the outer as separate from oneself. Outer as separate from oneself. There cannot be any enmity between my own right hand and the left hand. The awareness of oneness, when experienced through the vision of the same self everywhere, then alone can the total avoidance of enmity with any creature is fully accomplished. Total detachment is an impossibility at the mind-intellectual level. Mind and intellect cannot live without attaching to something or a being. Therefore, seekers first, through God-dedicated activity, learns to withdraw all his attachments from other things and invest them all in his rising fervor of devotion as attachment to the Lord. In accomplishing this, all the earlier explained schemes are indeed very helpful. Thus, when the whole scheme is re-evaluated, we can find in it a logic quite acceptable and perfectly psychological. Each subsequent item in the scheme is beautifully supported and nourished by the previous one. From this stanza, it is evident, therefore, that the spiritual seeker's great pilgrimage starts from God-dedicated activities. That is how we start our activity. Not self-centered activity. Soon that God principle itself would become his very ideal goal. He will develop in himself a consummate life for this glorious goal. Naturally, all his other finite attachment with the world of objects will end until at last he comes to contact the self, and having become the self, he recognizes himself everywhere in everything, and so in him there cannot be any sense of enmity at all. Love for all and hatred for none can be considered the Gita touchstone. To know the quality of realization and the intensity of experience a seeker has gained through his sadhana. So this particular stanza is very, very important, even if we forget the rest of the thing. Mat karmagrati, mat paramo bhakta, sangavarjita, nirvairam sarvabhudeshu, enmity towards none. Sarvabhudeshu, no, not only human being. Yasamameti Pandava. He goes. So that is how the Vishwarupa Darshanam ends. From here we go to a most important and a small chapter called Bhakti Yoga. The present chapter goes to prove that the path of devotion is easier than the path of pure knowledge. The path of devotion means the adoration of God in His Supreme Personality, in which the aspirant forms a near and dear relationship with the Supreme Lord, and through constant remembrance of Him, and with prayers and singing and speaking of His glories, rises himself to the divine consciousness. A very practical suggestion for all of us. It is difficult to conceive the nameless, formless straight away. Suppose we try to witness our thoughts and then we try to go to the origin of our thoughts. Normally, we will be objectifying it. That is why it is difficult. Whereas the ultimate answer is to know from where the thought comes. The source of thought cannot be known through the thoughts, because the thought gets activated only because of that power. And we are searching for that power through the thought, which is a gift of the power, which is at the base of the power. So unless we do that in a systematic manner, it is very, very difficult. But devotion, on the other hand, bhakti, is different. That power, we treat that power who is within us, not a form, that power. Papa's Ram is impersonal Ram. The power because of which we are talking, So we consider it as Bhagavan and the sense of individuality as the Bhakta. The Bhakta knows Bhakta exists because of Bhagavan's presence. So the Bhakta pleads, why don't you please make me aware of your presence? Because you did not make me aware, I have been asserting that I will do this, I will do that, I have done this, I have done that. This is mine, that is mine. I have gained, I have lost. All these things have come to me because I have forgot, I am not aware of your presence. So why don't you please make me aware of it? So this sort of relationship, that is why he says, the path of devotion means the adoration of God in His Supreme Personality, in which the aspirant forms a near and dear relationship with the Supreme Lord, and through constant remembrance of Him, and with prayers and singing and speaking of His glories, rises himself to the divine consciousness. And in our case, we are all blessed to know something about it through Papas, Though Ramdas and Ram are one, Ramdas would always like to be the Das of Ram, that word. He was able to develop that mystic relationship even after scaling the heights, which cannot be explained. That is why it's called mystic. We can't explain that. For all practical purposes, he is an individual like all of us. But he got stabilized in the truth that God is working through that body, mind, intellect equipment. And when he expresses through that form, he maintained that mystic relationship with that power. Though he is constantly aware that it is his will alone that works. Not even for a second the individual will steps in. So the path of devotion means the adoration of God in His Supreme Personality, in which the aspirant forms a near and dear relationship with the Supreme Lord. And with prayers, singing and speaking of His glories, rises himself to the divine consciousness. Through this devotion, the devotee effects his union with and absorption in the Lord, and thus not only attain the knowledge of the Atman or the Nirguna aspect of God, but also get the highest vision of God manifested as the universe. The peace and joy which a devotee experiences is maintained in all conditions of life and activity. A devotee of the personal form of the Lord serves the Lord with his sense organs, whereas a devotee of the impersonal aspect of Lord always thinks about the welfare of the world. Saguna Bhakti is secure and easy, but it needs Nirguna Bhakti. Saguna Bhakti should eventually blossom into Nirguna Bhakti. Whatever be one's seva is, even if it is insignificant or simple, as long as it is not detrimental to the interest of others, it is also a form of bhakti. Otherwise, it will be a sort of attachment. The Lord also gives the attributes and qualifications of the devotees who are dear to Him in the last 8 slokas. These are directly related to our daily life and therefore help us to know where we are now and what is needed to move towards the goal. Previously, when we were going through this 12th chapter, we used to go straight away to the last 8 slokas. Because our attraction was, there he defines who is my dearest devotee. We would like to become his dearest devotee. So how am I to do that? What are the qualifications? And then the sloka starts, Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna evaja nirmamo nirahankara samadukka sugakshami santushta satatam yogi nishchaya mayarpida mano buddhihi yomad bhakta same priya. Then when we started going through, we wanted to understand the meaning, not literal meaning, through examples drawn from contemporary life. That is why it is said, these are directly related to our daily life, not a tall talk. We have put it in a PPT with evidence, with statistics. For each and every value, he said, you become a devotee, dearest devotee of Lord. How do I know? Not by reading half a dozen times the same sloka, no. Unless I knit myself to an experience which I have heard, I have seen, I have observed, I have undergone, then it becomes very clear to us. So when it is taken from the contemporary life, that is why this word is used. These are directly related to our daily life and therefore help us know where we are now and what is needed to move towards the goal. So our request is that the last 8 slokas, you kindly go through, find out your own examples. You may not be able to get example for everything, but some you may get, So Arjuna asked whether the Lord likes more the Bhakta or a Jnani. Slokas. Those who are endowed with supreme faith, united through meditation with me, with mind centered on me, I consider them to be the best yogis. Now he starts telling. And 3 and 4, self-controlled, even-minded, engaged in the welfare of all, reach me only. Through Jnana Marga, it is very difficult to reach as it is conceptual initially. You have to form a concept, We hardly try to recognize that there is a power behind forming that concept, and that is what we are after. We hear slogas, we try to go through the slogas, we try to objectify, but we are not anywhere. It continues to be a conceptual, at the conceptual level, not a reality. Because our original idea is to experience the power behind the concept. Uh, 6 and 7, bhakti is easy in practice. You fix the mind on me. Here, there are 4 steps he talks. I plead, I am unable to fix my eye on him. So he says, bhakti is easy in practice. You fix the mind on me. If you are unable to fix the mind steadily on me, practice is the way. Abhyasa. Constant trial, effort. If you are unable to practice this also, do actions for my sake. Whatever actions, we try to count. Suppose we are having 100 actions. We try to become one action it is God's. God has given me this opportunity to do it. God has provided me the field to do it. God has given me the material to do it. Like that I try. And then, if you see, this is also not possible. Abandon the fruit of action. Whatever I get, I realize that there are so many contributory factors that have helped you to get me. So it is not mine. I cannot appropriate it to me and mine. Better indeed is knowledge than the blind abhyas. We should know. Otherwise, rituals, we do the ritual this way, that way, this, without knowing. That's why he says, better indeed is knowledge than blind abhyas. Meditation is better than knowledge. Renunciation of fruit of action is better than meditation. And peace immediately follows renunciation. This is how by step he has given the clue. When we apply our mind, slowly it will open up. And 13 to 19, the Lord says, those who live like this, holding on to such and such a virtues, are very dear to me. Malice towards none, living and non-living, adveshta sarva bhutanam. Even when a mosquito comes, we will try to keep it away rather than killing it. Because adveshta sarva bhutanam. When we go with the brush to the wash basin, suppose we will find out some ants or something is there. We will try to save the ant, then do it. Before we go and sit in the commode, we will check up whether anything is there. Unknowingly they would have fallen. We save them and then sit. Like that, it should come right from the tiniest. Malice towards none, living and non-living. Friendliness, compassionate, free from feelings of I and mine, even-minded in pain and pleasure, forbearing, ever content, steady in meditation, self-controlled, possessed of firm conviction, with mind and intellect fixed on Him, on God, by whom the world is not agitated. Who cannot be agitated by the world? We don't frighten the world. We don't get frightened by the world. Free from excessive joy, intolerance, fear. Free from excessive joy, intolerance, fear and anxiety. Free from dependence, anapeksha. Pure, efficient, positively indifferent. There may be many occasions when God may place us where we become positively indifferent, not negatively. We keep aloof. Untroubled, not initiating any self-centered activity, free from rejoice, hatred, grievance, free from rejoice, hatred, grievance, desires, renouncing good and evil, full of devotion, same to friend and foe, honor and dishonor, heat and cold, all pairs of opposites, pleasure and pain, censure and praise, and who is silent, content with anything, not owning anything, steady-minded. that 17 to 19, sorry, what is that? 13 to 19. Always you have to read. To know where we are. And how, then only we can improve. There are many areas where we fail. So we try to become aware. And in the last sloka, 20th, the Lord assures, those who practice these 24 hours a day with great Shraddha, keeping me as the final goal, he is the dearest to me. Ativa me priya, more dearest to me. So this is how this 12th chapter ends. So the first question starts by Arjuna. It is very well known that in the world there are two types of seekers, seeking one and the same goal. Some meditate upon the manifested form of the infinite, others contemplate upon the unmanifested supreme. Both of them are sincere, both progress onward. Avyakta. Evam satatayuktaye bhaktastvām paryupasate echapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittavaha. Those devotees who ever steadfast thus worship you, Arjuna is asking, those who worship the imperishable, the unmanifested, which of them are better versed in yoga? The question crystallizes itself to express the great controversy that exists even today in the world. Can the Lord be meditated upon and realized ultimately through idol worship? Can any symbol represent him? Can a wave represent the ocean? Explaining the path of meditation on a form representative of the divine, Krishna, the infinite, starts his discourse. Then Krishna says, Mayaveshya manoye maam nityayukta upasate shraddaya parayopedas te me yukta tamamataha. Those who, fixing their mind on me, worship me, ever steadfast and endowed with the supreme faith, these, in my opinion, are best in yoga. In this very opening stanza of his reply, Krishna points out three unavoidable conditions that are absolutely necessary in order that devotion unto the Lord may yield its promised dividend. Generally, there is a feeling that the path of devotion is a very easy and simple way for self-perfection. In fact, no path is easy. It is equally true to say that no chosen path is difficult for the seeker who has chosen it. Paths are different only because of the vehicles employed. In a boat, we can never travel on a Grand Trunk road. Nor can we in a plane sail over the waves. Nor on a cycle dash at 60 miles an hour. There are limitations for each vehicle. But in all of them, progress is assured to the intelligent and the careful. Similarly, for self-development, each type of seekers, according to the vehicle available with them, choose either the path of devotion or the path of action or the path of knowledge. To each one of them, his path is the easiest. Thought is the contents of our subtle body. Both the mind and the intellect are nothing but thoughts to wander around and about the concept of the Lord. But it is to actually penetrate, delve, merge therein, and dissolve them in the ideal perfection which the Lord represents. The word that is being used here in the stanza, aveshya, fixing, indicates not merely a thought contact, but it is an actual thought penetration. In fact, human thought takes the form of gather the fragrance of even and even puts on the glow of perfection in the objects of his contemplation. Ever self-controlled worship me. The second condition necessary for a devotee to accomplish his evolution through the path of devotion is that he must have sufficient balance in himself to be ever in self-control while worshipping the Lord. Mind is by its nature will always try to run wild from its objects of contemplation, and the art of keeping the thought balanced at its point of concentration is called here as self-control. The term in Sanskrit upasana, though it can be translated as worship, should not be misunderstood by the superficial suggestion that automatically comes to us when we hear the word worship. True upasana is an inward act of attunement with the higher principle and getting ourselves completely merged with it. And the third condition is with perfect faith. Faith is generally understood as a blind belief. This is not the Shraddha here meant. The term Shraddha has been beautifully described by Shankaracharya as follows. This is called the spirit of faith, by which an individual understands readily the exact import of the scriptural text as well as of the pregnant words of advice of the preceptor, by which alone the reality of things become clearly manifested. Without this faculty developed in him, a devotee may not succeed sufficiently in bringing about a self-divinization in himself even after years of practice. Shraddha Bhakti Jnana Yogan Mumukshu. In Vivek Chudamani he says that. Shraddha. Shraddha you are hearing, you know. So then, those who worship the imperishable, the indefinable, the unmanifest, the omnipresent, the immovable, the eternal, having restrained the senses, even-minded everywhere, intent on the welfare of all beings, verily they also come into me. So control of the senses. Even-minded everywhere. Level-headedness. You know. We saw in the second chapter, Sthita Prajna. Intent on the welfare of all beings. Whether this particular thought, this particular word, whether this particular deed is beneficial to others, that should be my yardstick. Sarva Bhuta Hiterata. In Bhagavad Gita he says that. From the me to we. And then, my child may be dirty at one moment, mischievous at another, screaming in the morning, laughing in the noon, bullying in the evening, wild in the night. Yet, through them all, the Father in me sees but the one and the same Son. That's beautiful. And therefore, he gives his love equally in all these different manifestations of his own Son. My child may be dirty at one moment, mischievous at another, screaming in the morning, laughing in the noon, bullying in the evening, wild in the night, yet through them all, the Father in me sees but the one and the same Son, and therefore he gives his love equally in all these different manifestations of his Son. This is a loving Father's Samabuddhi. In the same way, a true seeker learns to recognize the Lord of his art in the grinning tragedies, in the smiling comedies, in the boisterous successes, in the sighing sorrows, in the howling failures in his own day-to-day life. Therefore, he becomes equanimous intellectually. Beautiful. In the same way, a true seeker learns to recognize the Lord of his heart in the grinning tragedies, in the smiling comedies, in the boisterous successes, in the sighing sorrows, in the howling failures in his own day-to-day life. Therefore, he becomes equanimous intellectually. Enumerating the third of the qualification necessary for a successful meditator, the Lord says that he should be one who is ever self-dedicated in serving his best to all beings. Sarvabhuta hiterata. Wow. It is impossible for anyone, as long as he is in embodiment, to give all his mind and intellect at all time toward the higher contemplation. He must necessarily come in contact with the world and react with it. In all such activities, a seeker should be, by the very nature of his philosophy, one who is ever devoted in tirelessly serving the entire living kingdom. Love for beings becomes his creed, wiping away the tears from my face of life and replacing them with smiles and laughter becomes his profession and life's fulfillment. One incident, we have time. Normally we share with children. There is a board there in our Ananda Kutir. One elderly person one day rushed to the hospital and told the nurse, I have some bruises, please do the dressing. I have to leave and reach a place at 9 o'clock. I cannot overlook that commitment. So while dressing, she asked, where are you to go? Where are you to see? He said, it is something like a hospice, Oh, you want to meet somebody there? I want to meet my wife. We will have breakfast together every day. She is all right. No, she is suffering from dementia. So she does not know me. Every day we go there, we eat, but she does not know me. Then why are you rushing up? I know her, Whether she recognizes, whether she loves, whether she cheers, it does not matter for him. He says, she doesn't know, but I know her, Purest form of love. Nothing is expected. Thus, if the meditators fixing their mind upon the imperishable, this is how we try to get the examples, so that we understand what exactly is meant by this word. Otherwise, it becomes academic. We are not interested in academics, slogas, repeating, all those things. We are not interested. We are trying for the Gita to go inside us. When we try to identify an example which God has facilitated us to watch, to experience, to hear, then immediately it becomes mine. This is what we want. Thus, if the meditators fixing their mind upon the imperishable, the unmanifest, are able to control their sense organs, keep themselves equanimous and make it their nature to serve others, they too, through their meditation, reach me alone. Krishna declares that they too reach the same goal, the Supreme Self. Though the traditional form of approach is not there. The question as raised by Arjuna was rather of a controversial nature, while Krishna's answer to it is a declaration of an incontrovertible truth. Here the great divine philosopher points out how both the paths take the practitioner to one and the same goal and the same general rules of conduct in their dealings with the world are here clearly described for both of them. Whether the devotee is seeking a spiritual unfoldment through meditation upon a personal or an impersonal God, the result achieved, it is shown, remained the same if the disciplines required of him are fully and faithfully followed. Like that, tomorrow we will take up these again because very, very important. You know? All chapters are important, but we are all involved in various fields. So, what is it that makes me to move towards him? For that, probably this chapter 12 gives us more clarity. That is why Mahatma Ji, when he went to a place called Kausani in Himalayas, during his hectic freedom struggles and other involvement, he chose to go there for 21 days, if you remember right. Sat there and wrote a few lines, like what we are trying, on the entire 18 chapters. But he started the Gita from 12th chapter. He also gives a lot of importance for the 12th chapter. And then he did not say Bhagavad Gita. He said it is Anasakti Yoga, not getting attached to anything. So this 12th chapter is very, 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 very useful for seekers, devotees like us, who are on the path. No doubt, we are all on the path. Otherwise, we will not be hearing these. So this will give us the added push, because it is drawn from our daily life. So tomorrow we will try to spend more time on it. And before we close today, technically we have covered about 12 chapters. One line from each chapter. No? First chapter, enables to observe the inner conflict welling up in our mind due to attachment. We become aware of our pitfalls, second chapter, that cloud our perception and judgments. How a balanced mind ensures peace and handling smoothly. Second chapter. Third, peace and harmony lie in refining our approach to activities, from self-centeredness to higher centeredness, me to we. Realizing that the unknown factor God has a say finally in all matters. Fourth chapter. We bring in the God dimension. And fourth chapter, renouncing activity will not help if the mind is not refined. Wherever we go, the same mind comes to us. Fifth chapter, when God predominates in our actions, we do not feel the hardships. Sixth chapter, self-imposed disciplines do help in hitting the goal. Realizing our origin and the factor providing us everything, seventh chapter. Getting some clarity about the varied manifestation, again seventh chapter. Accepting the death phenomena as inevitable, eighth chapter. Inward journey is a must for getting fixed in the imperishable, again eighth chapter. Realizing no divide between spiritual and worldly is the express highway to God, ninth chapter. Realizing no divide between spiritual and worldly. That is the express highway, direct. Anything that we do, in all creation, the name of the Lord is written in beautiful letters, 10th chapter. It is His creation, His creation, His creation. In all greater manifestation of energy, He is more conspicuous, 11th chapter. Eligibility to become His dearest devotee is outlined in 12th chapter. So that we may forget about everything. But this one line. When during our Vishu or Deepavali, when the crackers, we all play with the crackers. You first light one, then the whole thing keeps on ta 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 ta. No? So similarly, one small word from each chapter. That means we are trying to do the churning and try to get the essence. Each may find the essence differently, doesn't matter. But that will keep us in touch with that chapter. And it is connected with our daily life, not a tall talk. So we request everybody also to kindly bring this one line of what we have understood from each and every chapter. We may fail, we may forget, don't worry, we keep on trying. We have not tried so far. We were concentrating upon slogas, meaning, this. By the time we go to the next, we would have forgotten the first. But here, we are trying to, do the churning. And the essence is formed. And that we will try to keep it up. And that will connect us to the entire chapter also later. So that is why along with this study, we are also trying to bring one sentence. Tomorrow, if he permits, we will try to have a quick recap of the entire 12 chapters. After the 6th chapter, we made a recap. Now, after 12th, another 6, and another 6 is there. But major has been covered. And everybody should have some idea about now Bhagavad Gita. And somehow we try to pave the way for the Gita to enter into us. We pray to him, not by our own. He is facilitating so many things, So many things he is facilitating. So we pray to him and then dwell upon him and try to see. That is why this is called, celestial song. This is called the celestial song. We start enjoying the sweetness of this. Because previously we thought it was a shastra to be learned and reproduced to another. Now we are slowly trying to understand it is dealing with our very life. My relationship with, I am trying to understand, or I am trying to develop a right relationship with God who is within me, a right relationship with the co-creations outside, and a right understanding about me. These three are there in Bhagavad Gita. A right understanding about me, a right relationship with the indwelling reality, a right relationship with my co-creation. That is why it is addressed as the song celestial. If this is our driving force, then we will be able to search and pick out so many such gems from each chapter. That is what now he is slowly leading us. So let us all try to intensify our effort. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Hari Om.
Namaskaram, Swamiji.
Namaskar.
Namaskaram, Swamiji.
Pranam. Hari Om. Pranam. Pranam.
Okay. No, nothing much. Thanks.
Cold fever more than the cold.